So, the National Football League is basically done with another week. We have one more game to go tonight, and it is not one of great importance, even a little bit, with the Bengals taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Let's start in the AFC as the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football somehow, someway survive again as a field goal doinks in a doink for the division, as Mike Tirico so properly proclaimed on Sunday Night Football. But they just keep doing it. And I'm going to keep buying it. I know that this is similar to the Eagles from last year and to all these different teams from all these different times. And yes, it's a lot has been lost by teams who barely squeak by in the regular season and then go to the playoffs and lose. But this team is different. It is Mahomes. It is Andy Reid. It is the most talented football player maybe in the history of the sport at that quarterback position. And so, yeah, a lot of these wins are very fluky. But this is still the two-time defending Super Bowl champions with the best player in the world out there. And I think they are getting better. I think DeAndre Hopkins is really fitting in with this offense very, very well. I think Pacheco getting back in is very interesting. And now apparently Hollywood Brown is working his way back out. I think a lot of these weapons that they were relying on at the beginning of the season are kind of either being replaced or starting to work their way back into the lineup. And that makes this a very dangerous football team. The one, I think, legitimate point you can make about this group, because we haven't even talked about the defense, which is all world still, right? Like, they are one of the best defensive units in the NFL, and so that is why they are winning a lot of these games when the offense can barely put up 20 points a night. But the thing that does give you the most pause is this offensive line is really leaky, and you are going to be facing some good, you saw it, you're going to be facing the Chargers probably at some point in the playoffs maybe. The Buffalo Bills had some success there. You're going to be dealing with some just vicious pass rushes. If the playoffs end up with the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, they got like 9 guys who can get after the quarterback, and that's going to be a real problem for this unit to try to block for Patrick Mahomes and kind of keep him upright. So there are, I think, major concerns in Kansas City, but in terms of they can't keep doing this. Sure they can. We learned this last year. This is the most vulnerable Kansas City has been. They're playing on the road in the first time. Look at the offense just seems off. It just hoisting the Lombardi Trophy at the end of it all. We need to learn this lesson here. Moving on, the Pittsburgh Steelers, talked about them a little bit there. They look really, really good. And this is part of the Sean Payton discussion, and maybe this is, again, just me holding on to one last little glimpse of, oh no, Sean Payton, he's actually not all that good. Holding on to one last little thing of that, because this Russell Wilson did not set foot in Denver. And now, I don't know if it is the desperation of the situation or what it is, or just not meshing, but Sean Payton couldn't get this out of that guy out in Denver, and he is looking really good. And again, this defense is one of the top 2 or 3 in the National Football League right now, and with the offense starting to really move the football very effectively and starting to put up some points, this is a team that is looking very for real right now in the AFC. They are in the driver's seat to win this division. I don't think they're going to really be competitive for a first-round bye, but they're going to at least be hosting one playoff game and be miserable to play against. They are built for January football, and I think they are going to be a real problem in the AFC. Also, the Miami Dolphins surviving. And I was big on the Dolphins coming into the season. Maybe not as big as I was a season ago, but I have been, I think, a Tua defender. And I don't know how the people who are anti-Tua have any leg to stand on anymore. Because is he perfect? No. Is he like this tank for Tua that they had a couple of years ago, this franchise-altering quarterback? Probably not. But you see how this offense ran without him. And now you see how this offense runs with him. And it is night and day. So maybe it's a systems thing, whatever. But they trotted a whole lot of other quarterbacks out in this system, and it didn't work. And now he has got this team back and rolling. And I think that they are still going to have at least a bit of a say in the push here toward a wild card spot in the AFC in the next few weeks. The Buffalo Bills drop a real fun one against the Los Angeles Rams, and this is the one aspect of the Bills that just kind of keep me the slightest bit away from locking them in as like Super Bowl favorite or whatever, is that defense can get after it at times, but holy cow, can they give up some points and can they give up some yards? The good thing for for Buffalo is obviously Josh Allen looks like Superman, and he is connecting with Amari Cooper over and over and over again. Like, it seems like those guys have that connection now and are going to be able to put some pressure on defenses in a way that Kansas City's offense, even with some of those other guys coming in, just haven't really been able to do, with guys being able to win one-on-one in those routes and even just being open while still covered, like the one go route that Cooper had that Allen just fitted in just perfectly there. So the offensively, like, Josh Allen is putting up some unbelievable numbers, and I kind of wondered if he lost this game, do we kind of circle it back to Mahomes as MVP? But I think having 6 touchdowns in a game is probably going to keep that MVP conversation going there with Josh Allen. As far as the Rams are concerned, I still can't get a read on this team. One week they look not great, and then the next week they come out and the offense is unstoppable. And Puka Nacua is basically the greatest receiver that's ever existed. And Cooper Kupp is still putting up some stuff. And by the way, Kyron Williams can run through anybody. This is an offense that when it gets going, it is really difficult to stop. But the defense is still too inconsistent for me to fully take them seriously here in the NFC. Toxic, back for the second time. Look, we're going to be back here. It's back to regularly scheduled programming, at least for the next couple of weeks before we get into that Christmas, New Year's area. And I'm off in Saskatchewan with untrustworthy internet access and stuff like that. But where we were a few weeks ago, we're going to get back to that live stream again later on today with the Video Game World, and another live one with the podcast again on Tuesday, and then another one on Thursday with quite a bit more video game stuff to come. We'll get to that probably a little bit later on today. But yes, we're back again. That is for sure. And always love seeing Toxic pop up in the chat. Sticking in the NFC West, the Seattle Seahawks really grasped control with another good win, and I am firmly believing now in this Seattle team. Geno Smith is not perfect, that is clear, but they have enough receivers around that this offense can put up some points. And with Kenneth Walker and with Zach Charbonnet, they are really able to control a whole lot. And the big thing here is this defense is getting healthier and they are getting better. And that is why I think that this is a team that, like, there is very obviously tiers in the NFC. The Lions are probably alone, although the Eagles are up there, right? Like the Eagles are hanging around. And before, it felt like, and then there's a gigantic gap, and then there's the rest of the NFC. Instead, it does feel like the Philadelphia Eagles and Detroit Lions, while it feels like they're kind of running away and hide, I do think Seattle is kind of creeping up there as a team that really needs to be taken seriously when we get to playoff time. One team that isn't being taken seriously, and I kind of understand it, but I do think we need to look at them a little bit more, is the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold can turn into a pumpkin at any time. We all understand this. But that defense with Flores at control is for real. B, Addison adds another level to this offense when he was out that they just didn't have. And I think getting Cam Akers as a safety blanket behind Aaron Jones was really impactful, and TJ Hawkinson being back is helping this offense out as well. But this defense is so good and so aggressive, and I think is going to win them a few games. Like, I just think in general the NFC is maybe just a little bit tighter than we all think. And are we going to get to a point where it is going to be the it's going to be the Lions and the Eagles in the NFC Championship game? Probably, right? Very realistically. But I do think that it's not just going to be 41-3 over Seattle and 28-10 over the Minnesota Vikings in the divisional round. These are going to be legitimately challenging teams that are going to really give these teams some problems here in the postseason. But one team that's having problems now, the Atlanta Falcons. I think it's up to now 8 interceptions between touchdowns for Kirk Cousins. This one you can understand. He played for Minnesota for so long. You can understand the throwing to the wrong jersey thing. That's just going to happen. But he doesn't look good. And I don't know what Michael Penix Jr. looks like. And I said it last week when we were just doing podcast episodes, it would take some kind of balls to go from Kirk Cousins to unproven Michael Penix Jr. in the midst of a playoff race with your season on the line in the next 3 weeks, as a coach who is desperately trying to hold on to his second and maybe last opportunity as a coach in Raheem Morris. So this is a really interesting situation out in Atlanta. As far as Monday Night Football goes tonight, I don't think there's a whole lot of real impact here with the Bengals taking on the Cowboys. I do think it'll be a pretty fun football game, though. And so I think definitely worth tuning in to check that one out later on tonight. So that is the story from the National Football League.